Hello, hello. I think we're live. Happy Thursday. Here we go. This is a juicy conversation, you guys, about guilt versus shame. I mean, I don't think I knew the difference at all until I was with my neuro coaching group, and we had a conversation about some of the differences and amongst our friends and about this topic, and it was so interesting, and it was an eye-opening experience for me. And I thought, maybe it would be a very eye-opening experience for you as well. So for those of you who don't know me, hi, hey, I'm Lynlee Linke. I'm an author, a speaker, a certified neuro coach, and I run a Fun Life Academy program in which I show entrepreneurs and high achievers how to have more fun, more energy, more joy along their success journey to live an authentic and extraordinary life, to feel powerful, fearless, and completely unstoppable. All right, so let's talk about this guilt and shame and the differences and why it matters. So, guilt is really more of an action, it's something that's wrong or perceived of as wrong, whereas shame is the person, is who I am is wrong. It's an identity. So, the difference between the action and identity. In fact, the definition in the dictionary is a little bit hard to comprehend, but when you can have a discussion about it and really understand where it's coming from, it makes a little more sense. So I'm going to read that definition girl here. I love definitions. Guilt, the fact of having committed a specified or implied offense or crime. So again, the fact of having committed, so that's the action of specified or implied offense or crime. Whereas shame, the definition of shame, is a painful feeling, the feeling, right, of humiliation or distress caused by consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. So the thing about that is that intense feeling of humiliation or distress, which is about who you are. So guilt itself is the behavior. It's the trial, like guilty, trial. Where shame is what it means about you or what you make it mean about you. So both of them can have negative emotions associated with. However, guilt on one end can really have some positive effects because it can help you to see what you did or the guilty action that you may have done that may lead to growth, may lead to learning, may lead to making amends or doing something better or a forgiveness process. So guilt can definitely have some positive effects on you if you allow it to. But it can also have negative emotions as well. And in fact, when you build up a lot of guilt, you end up in a shameful place. So shame in general has a lot of negative connotation around it because it can be so painful. So guilt is like you're not proud of the action, right? The action that you took. You're a good person, but you may have made a mistake or a bad behavior. It may be by accident, it may be by a decision, it may be by a poor choice, or sometimes even a purposeful choice. Like I ate chocolate when I was on a diet. So you've heard of guilty pleasure. Have you ever done that where you said, I'm so guilty of that. I did that. I know that. You own it, you move on. It doesn't stick around, right? Whereas shame, it takes on the meaning about who I am as a person. It like defines me. The painful and intense, overwhelming feelings of guilt can turn into shame. You're not proud of the person about who you are or who you have become. That's when shame is in there. Guilt is usually very temporary. Just like I said, you usually get over it, you move on. You might be like, oh, guilty of that. Then you move on. Whereas shame can really have that long-term, long-lasting, deep effects, which can really unhealthy feelings of sadness, unhealthy feelings may lead into depression, anger, frustration, worry, anxiety disorders. Especially if things aren't resolved, it can lead to low self-esteem, lack of confidence, other confident issues, low self-worth, and you can have extreme criticism of yourself, of others. You can be judging yourself and others a lot. You can be tearing yourself down or others a lot. You can even fall into an aggressive pattern or a passive aggressive pattern if that's your tendency. Begin to dwell on shame a lot because it sits really heavy because it has to do with what it means about us as an individual and a person. So just a quick example of guilt. A good mom that makes a mistake is just a good mom that makes a mistake. Whereas a bad mom, as in a shameful bad mom, is a belief pattern that is repeated on autopilot. So good person making a mistake, bad person is a bad person. And that can be repeated on automation. In this instant, I'm talking about a mom, good mom, bad mom. Another example is a smart person. A smart person that makes a stupid mistake can just be a smart person that makes a stupid mistake. I mean, I do that all the time. I'm like, oh my God, that was so stupid. Can't believe I did that. Shake it off. Whereas if it becomes about, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I am stupid, then it becomes about who I am as a stupid person. And that's just kind of a shameful place. Then you begin to kind of repeat stupid behaviors. Like to prove almost that you're not smart. If you believe that you are stupid, it becomes an excuse to be that. It kind of serves you in a way. So for instance, if you believe that you're a bad mom, guess what you don't have to do? You don't have to show up as a good mom. You don't have to join the PTA. You don't have to arrive at picking your kids up on time because you can prove to yourself that you're a bad mom. Whereas me, for example, I'm a good mom, but I totally forgot to pick up my kids on time. No big deal. But when you take it on that you are as a bad mom, and it's a shameful place to be, you're going to actually prove and have evidence for that for yourself. Isn't that crazy? It's that belief at the core. If you're not a good person, or you're stupid, or you're bad, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're selfish, if you create those things from a shameful place about yourself negatively, it becomes who you are. And you actually begin to create evidence for that negativity, that negative behavior. You have to prove that you're bad. It's going to drive, because that's a belief pattern you have, that's going to drive your decisions and your actions, and thus the results you're going to get. They're not going to be good if you have that thought process. Whereas if you're aware of these things, if you're aware of the shame, if you're aware of the beliefs that you have, when it shows up, you can identify it, then you can change it. And that's what will change your decisions and your actions and results when you become aware of it. Once that awareness kicks in, you see how the shame you carry and the identity that you accidentally created, you can change it. And I'm going to say that again, it's not something you intentionally do. It's an accident that you have created into a belief that you have about yourself, and it's running in your subconscious on automation, right? This is not your fault. I'm going to repeat that again. It's not your fault. Your brain's job is to put things in automation that have been repeated. And if you've repeated that to yourself, it's automatically there. You don't purposely create negative beliefs on purpose or intentionally about yourself. You didn't consciously choose that at that time. It was just that repeated pattern that began running without your brain logically knowing it. You just put it back here so that it made it more energy efficient. That's what your brain does for you. And it just put it in that automated role. But it shows up more regularly than you even know. I always like to say, but when good belief comes into play, the bad beliefs will go away. good and bad is judgment, and I don't really, like to use those terms. However, I'm trying to make a point here. When you have a belief that really empowers you and serves you, you're going to be different. You're going to show up different. You're going to make different decisions. Whereas when you have some kind of negative belief, shameful belief, upsetting identity about yourself, it's going to be really controlling of the actions or no actions, even in some cases, or reactions that you might have in certain circumstances. But when you can create new and empowering roles for yourself with new neural networks and new neural pathways, then that shameful behavior can go away. New one's created, it will begin running. The old one will eventually fade away if you empower the new one more and more and more and more. So I thought that maybe, let's tell you one thing first. Shame has a lot of different forms, okay? It can show up as who I am is ashamed, who I am is shameful, who I am is a disappointment, especially if it's repeated criticism or failing to live up to expectations of yourself or of others, or maybe extreme embarrassment. Who you are is an embarrassment, right? If that's how it jumps. And that is a way that it can become your identity and belief of yourself. There's just a few little examples. But so for me and in neuro coaching world, I totally coach you how to recognize and see some of those shameful beliefs that you might have, to bring them to the surface, to acknowledge them and create new ones that will continue to empower you so the old ones will go away. I'm certainly happy to help anybody do that. But I want to give you an exercise that you can do. Everybody, I believe, can relate to this. So stand in front of a mirror and see the shame for a moment. See the shameful behavior. And then what if you took the shame and put it over here? What if you took it off and put it over here for a moment? Then I want you to take the new you without the shame. Shame's over here. It's no longer you. And look at yourself and say, what do you see? Without the shame, without disappointment, without embarrassment, without feeling ashamed, without criticism, without being bad mom, without stupid, without upset, without depression, without all those things. If you put it over here and you look at yourself and you say, who do you see now? I see an empowered person. I see a smart person. I see a great wife. I see a person of confidence. I see a powerful person. I see a fearless woman. I see an authentic person. I see a successful businesswoman. I see brilliance. I see intelligence. All the opposite things that are over here, right? And then, if you didn't have this identity over here, who would you be? How would you act? Different? I think it would. How would you feel? Shame has a very intense, deep, emotional drain, intensity. If that's over here, how would you feel? Excited, revived, happy, joyful, full of life? How would you think about yourself? What new and different decisions could you make? Taking this off. What new and empowering and different decisions would you make if you didn't have this hanging over you? What choices would you make? How would you show up in the world? It's a great exercise. And I encourage you, as you're talking this out to yourself, think about the positive, empowering things that you're saying and the ones that you're taking off. Write them down, the negative and the positive. Start creating more of the positive on repetition so that it will create more beliefs, more powerful thoughts, and more confidence so that the old one will go away. I thought this was a great conversation around guilt and shame. And I hope it served you in some way. And I hope that you get something out of it. And I would love to see, if you do that exercise, what comes up for you. If you want to share with me, I'd love for you to share. If you want to share on the page, share on the page. If you want to message me, message me. If you want to book a time to talk, let's book a, schedule a time to talk to see how I can help you and help you empower you. Because I know being in a place of shame, extreme guilt, and sadness and depression can be hard. And I want to help you live a more fuller, more brilliant, more fun and enjoyable life in your journey. Hope you have an amazing day, and I hope this was helpful. Bye-bye.